Is that good enough? All right. We'll get started. I call to order the Torch Lake Township Budget Hearing Meeting of March 11th, 2025 at 6 p.m. to review the proposed budget for the fiscal year 2025-26. Join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. Sharon, lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Sharon. I will make the motion to open the budget public hearing to review the proposed budget for the fiscal year 2025-26. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Sharon. Motion has been made and seconded to open the budget public hearing to review the proposed budget for the fiscal year 2025-26. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. The proposed tax millage rates to be levied to support the budget will be the subject of this hearing and meets the truth and taxation requirements. Key aspect of the financial activities for the prior fiscal year of 24-25 was the establishment of separate accounts to track the bifurcation of the ambulance and fire fund millages, supporting the purchase of new ambulances and fire trucks, and establish funds so we have the ability to pay cash for all future equipment purchases. Page 2 of your budget review package. The first 4 items are millage funded. The last 3 items are from non-millage sources. Turn to the next page, page 3. It's titled Tax Information. It is a breakdown of where your tax payment goes. Currently, we receive 17 cents of each tax dollar paid on your tax bill. That is the same percent as last year. As you can see, total taxes to the township went up $791,100, with school and county taxes accounting for 80% of that increase. The driver was the appreciation in property valuation. Torch Lake Township property valuations went up $26 million, or 8%, which is slightly less than last year's 9.3%. Any questions with regards to this increase can be addressed to our assessor or treasurer. And page 4 highlights the cash flow for the township. We began March of 2024 with $2.7 million. We should end up in March of 25 with $2.9 million. March of 26 is estimated at $3.2 million. Looking at the bottom chart, I highlight the cash flow as the first 9 months will always be negative until we begin collecting our taxes in late December, and then the next 3 months of 26. We will still be in good financial shape entering December. Page 5 looks at some of the favorable expense performance in the fiscal year of 24-25 against the budget we prepared last year. We had estimated a surplus of $90,000, and we are estimating the number at roughly $153,000. The main drivers for the $63,000 improvement primarily came from lower costs of the road work, about $49,000, and the fire fund lower expenses of $30,000. For the fiscal year 25-26, we are expecting a surplus of $309,000. With the new budgeting process, we have to make some adjustments in order to get what a true surplus of the operations is. We split the revenue stream for ambulance and fire funds to track capital funding and operating funds separately. To get to a normalized operating profit or loss, we need to deduct out the capital revenue lines for the fire and ambulance groups. That total is roughly $439,000. Then from expenses, you need to deduct the fire truck cost of $176,000, as that is a capital expense. Finally, we had a one-time revenue gain of $65,000 from the sale of our 2 fire tanker trucks that we need to deduct. Once we net these factors out of our surplus of $309,000, we end up basically at a break-even point for the operating year. As you can see, there are a lot of moving pieces within our township's financials. Turning to page 6, basically we put together a trend map starting with our 22-23 fiscal year, running across to get to our fiscal year of 25-26. At the bottom, you can see the operating performances. Included in this is not only the financial performance, but also where we end up with the capital funds for the reserves and the cash. The next item is the capital plan update. It is a separate handout, which you should have received there at the back. We have 3 critical areas. I've always said the roads, fire, and ambulance are my greatest concerns for our township. The township passed a millage increase for the roads in 2022, as well as the board took action in that year to establish the necessary millages for the replacement costs of our critical emergency equipment. The first payments to the capital revenue line occurred in fiscal year 23-24. We will need to place the road millage renewal on the ballot in 2026. I do not see a need to increase it, but I also think it is best not to decrease it, as inflation remains the key unknown in estimating our future costs. As you can see from the overview page, the fund balances look good for fire and ambulance, but we must remember fire will take a hit when we pay off the new tanker for $176,000. The ambulance looks good, but we will be using cash for the new ambulance payment of approximately $300,000. The good news is we will have an additional tax collection year before the ambulance is delivered. If necessary, we will borrow any shortfall funds from the general fund and will pay back the general fund upon receiving the taxes in 26-27. The bottom item is something I use to ensure we have cash to meet our operating needs, as I use 50% of the total excess of our operating expenses as a benchmark. For fire, I like to see a balance of roughly $250,000, and in the ambulance, $450,000. It's strictly something I monitor, and in addition to watching our expenses. On the next slide, our roads, we had a 7-year master plan for our road maintenance and repairing. So far, we have repaired 20 roads for 9.7 miles at a cost of $1,147,000. The balance of our plan will spend all of the funds we collect through 2028, leaving us a minimum balance of roughly $300,000. The millage will need to be renewed in order for this work to be accomplished. The new work has a life expectancy of between 10 and 15 years, but the next time we do repairs, in my discussion with Bert, this is probably the last time we can do a Band-Aid. In the next set of repairs are going to be more expensive. So we need to be prepared, and we need to pass that millage. Please note in the box for future boards, the future cost for doing the road work for 1 mile this in 2026 is going to look somewhere in the neighborhood of $220,000 a mile. If you take the inflation at 5% and run it out, When we get out to repairing the roads again in 10 to 15 years, that cost per mile goes to $432,000. It's expensive to fix the roads, and the inflation side is not your normal inflation number for the road work because of the oil and things involved. The roadwork summary page represents the work that's going to be done in 2025. There's no timetable for when work will be done. Specifically, work on the public dock road will be done either before Memorial Day or after Labor Day. Looking at the next page, that will be the road work as laid out with Bert and myself for 26 through 28. Bert's worked very well with us, and he's been real good. This past year, we had reduction in the estimate he gave us by $39,000. So Bert watches out for us in his way. As a side note, in 2028, we address Northwest Torch Lake Drive. It's 3.3 miles long, and it's going to be expensive. I've discussed putting in a walking/biking lane with Bert, but there appears to be numerous issues in attempting to do that. I get many comments regarding the speeding on the road and the need for pedestrian lane to protect the walkers and cyclists. I will continue to work with Bert to make that happen. If we go to the next chart, on ambulances, our strategy is pretty much in place. The second ambulance will be delivered in 26. With regards to our ambulance wages, we will remain competitive to ensure we have the best personnel for our township. At this time, we are in a good position to compete for those resources. Moving on to the next page after that is our fire department capital plan, which is also in place. As a board, we pushed to order our second tanker and got a good deal on it. The delivery is mid-year 2026, and we'll be able to pay that off from the fire capital fund. Now, that was good news. The bad news is the replacement of the pumpers have gone up almost 50% in a year and a half. Last year, the pumper was around $650,000, and that would be on the same specs as our number one pumper. Today, they're quoting $850,000 to $900,000. With inflation, they're saying it's going to go up. So the question is, pumper 8821 is set to retire in 2033 with a replacement order date of 27 to 28. That gives it the 3 to 5 year lead time. The board will be discussing in April, do we order now and lock in this price range and get a better resale value on pumper 8821, or do nothing at this time? I'm having the fire chief monitor the pricing and delivery timetable for the new pumper. Moving forward, we need to realign the split between operations and capital for both the ambulance and fire funds to build capital reserves for the fire capital fund because of the cost of these fire trucks, and operating dollars for the ambulance fund. Our ambulances will both be new. They'll be good for 20, 25 years. So the focus will be on managing expenses. As an update, I'm still pushing both John Roth and John DeMoose to get us some state money for the emergency equipment items. At this point, I am requesting $700,000 to $900,000 in state funding. But as the old saying goes, don't hold your breath. That concludes my remarks on the budget and our capital programs. We will now review each fund's budget and millage rate. On the general fund, proposed 2025-26 millage rate of 1 mil for the fiscal year starting April 1st, 2025 through March 31st, 26. Next, special assessment ambulance fund. Proposed 2025-26 millage rate of 2.25 mils for the fiscal year starting April 1st, 2025 through March 31st of 26. This is split 1.85 mils or $703,700 for operations and a 0.4 mil, $154,000 allocated to capital equipment. As mentioned, we will be looking at increases to the operations with the offset to capital. Next, special assessment fire fund proposed 2025-26 millage rate of 1.75 mil for the fiscal year starting April 1st, 2025 through March 31st, 2026. This is split 1 mil, $380,460 for operations, 0.75 mil, $287,000 allocated to capital equipment. As with the ambulance, we will be looking at increasing the capital with the offset to operations. Next, the road fund. Proposed 2025-26 millage rate of 1 mil for the fiscal year starting April 1, 2025 through March 31 of 26. As a reminder, work is performed in the summer and we use the general fund to pay for the work and then refund the general fund with that year's tax collections. That completes the review of the funds with specific tax levy millage rates. The cemetery fund, the liquor enforcement fund, the Traverse Bay Nature Preserve are budgeted as presented. I will now take questions from the public with regards to the fiscal year 25-26 budget. Please fill out a card.
Mary's got a couple of them.
All right.
Looks like Dick Lorenz. Nequima Trailway.
Hello.
Hi.
I filled out a comment card to comment on the next meeting.
Oh, on the annual meeting?
Yeah.
All right, that's fine.
But while I'm here, if I could,
Sure.
I don't have a good understanding of how the township, if they do it all, funds the Elk Rapids Library. I noticed that there's funding in the past, like $2,000 the past couple of years.
It's 3,500 in the past.
I didn't see any for the upcoming
Correct,
year. Is there,
correct.
do we fund it or what's its
Well,
policy?
the problem is that half the township pays a tax to Central Lakes Public Library. The other half, Elk Rapids, contributes nothing to Central Lake, and they don't contribute anything to Elk Rapids. What I've asked the Elk Rapids Library Group to do is to pass, or at least put on the ballot, a millage for the Elk Rapids School District within Torch Lake Township to support their library like we do for Central Lake. At this point, they have submitted a different contract. I'm not satisfied with it, but I really have a problem taking township money that includes the Central Lake School District people who get taxed to cover the costs of Elk Rapids, because the library at Elk Rapids will not allow the rest of the Torch Lake Township people to use the library. So I have a problem using general fund money to finance part of the township.
Can you say that again? Will we not use the library that lives in Torch Lake Township?
The people in Central Lake District will have to pay a fee now going forward.
Is that something new?
It is, because they had never charged for their cards, but they're going to change all of that as part of their new financing. What that rate's going to be, I don't know, but as a, for instance, Central Lake charges $20 for their library card for the people who live in the south end of Torch Lake and Elk Rapids School District. These libraries are controlled by how the school districts run and are usually financed through special assessments. So for half of our township, the northern half, we pay an assessment totaling roughly $85,000 to Central Lake for their library. So at this point, I'm looking at this and I'm just saying Elk Rapids should certainly put it on the ballot for the people in the Elk Rapids School District to vote whether or not they want to pay for the library or not. It shouldn't come out of the general fund that consists of money from both school districts, from the residents. I hope that answers that question.
That was way more complicated than I imagined, but thanks.
It is complicated. It's taken me a couple of months, and I had a separate meeting with the board of Elk Rapids Library. They originally started out that they get, right now, the taxing is $80 a parcel for Elk Rapids Library for the people that actually pay for Elk Rapids Library. $80, and they were looking at roughly 500 residents in Torch Lake. They were thinking we ought to pay an equivalent amount. And I said, well, that's fine, but put it on the ballot and let the Elk Rapids people or school district decide if they want to pay that or not. So there's a lot of moving pieces in this. My foundation is that if we have to use the general fund money, that means the people in the Central Lake School District are paying twice. And I'm not buying that.
Thank you.
And
All
we're
right.
not, and we're not allowed to use it.
Yeah. We would have to buy the card. And it's like anything else. If they think so many people in Torch Lake, the southern part of Torch Lake, use it, then, charge them $20 a year or something, just like Central Lake, make it minimal. But I don't believe the township should be paying a fee. And yes, the board has done that for, I think, 15 years. I think the original contract was done in 75. So we've been paying a long, long, long time. And it's just, at this point, they started out by wanting more money, and so it opened up a can of worms.
Well, I appreciate if the board and you can stay on top of this and
Yep.
maybe someday consolidate or make it easier for everyone to understand and to support.
I'm sure at some point it'll be pretty simple.
Okay.
Trust
I'll
me.
wait for that.
All right, very good.
Wendy, was this now or later?
That's time. It's
Order?
My name is Wendy McWhorter, and I live Fisher Road, right next to Pine Hill Nursery in Paradise Estates. And as a dog owner, I am just asking if we could look at having a fenced-in dog park in this township. You want to run your dog, you have to go up to Charlevoix, right near the airport, there's one, or go into Traverse City, the West Dog Park on Division and Front Street. There is not a fenced-in dog park. I put something on Facebook about it, and it was very interesting. A lot of people said, I live on 40 acres, get yours fenced in, like everybody lives on 40 acres. But then there was a lot of people who live in neighborhoods that maybe can't fence in their yard, or they, don't want to for that reason. So it's just something, we have a lot of dogs in this area. In my subdivision alone, we probably have, 10. So it's just something I would like you to look at. It's a wonderful community resource. The day park over here, I just think would be perfect for that. You've got the beach, you've got the playground, picnic tables. It's a community area. Might be a nice resource for the community to have. Oh, a fenced-in dog park.
all right.
Thank you.
All
We
right.
have a lot of dogs, but we only sold 6 dog licenses this year. That's a side note, sorry. It's a
true.
Michigan law forever, yeah. Sorry, that was just a.
Check your license.
Anyone else?
No, that's all I have.
No? All right. Do I have a motion to close the budget public hearing?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Jason. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Motion is made and seconded to close the budget public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Public hearing is closed.
It's Mayor Sharon.
Well, I had a comment on one of them, but,
Well, there's no comment section.
okay.
Do I have a motion to close the budget meeting?
Again?
Well, we
I'll make the
closed
motion.
Public meeting, now we
Okay.
have to close the budget.
I'll make
Thank
that
you,
motion.
Jason. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Motion is made and seconded to close the budget hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Meeting is hereby closed. We will take a 5-minute break and we'll start the annual meeting at, let's say, 6:35.
Okay.
All right. Turn on your mics. I call to order the Torch Lake Township Annual Meeting of the Electors of March 11th, 2025 at 6:35 PM. Board members, you may now join the electors. I
Now
know.
we can go back there.
Think of it as extra exercise, Jason. I wouldn't dare. Well, I'd like to welcome everyone. Glad you have joined us. We have minutes to approve from the March 12th, 2024 annual meeting. Are there any objections by the electors to waive the reading of last year's minutes?
I make the motion to waive the minutes.
Thank you. The motion has been made to waive the reading of the March 12th, 2024 annual meeting minutes. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded to waive the reading of the March 12th, 2024 minutes. Any discussion by the electors on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Is there any, let's see, the next one is, do I have a motion from the floor to approve the minutes of the March 12th, 2024 annual meeting? Thank you, Laura. Is there a second? Thank you. It has been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of March 12th, 2024. Any discussion of the electors on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Moving to the next item is, do I have any testimonies or comments from the citizens of the township?
This when we,
Yep.
Dick, come back up.
I'm Dick Lorenz. I live at 2715 Bay Harbor Club Lane with my wife, Maureen. And I'm not sure who I'm addressing. Am I addressing the board or the public or?
Well, usually it's to the public, but we have.
Here's my public comment, Bob.
Yep.
With the spring weather we had 2 days ago and the long days and sun we're seeing now, my thoughts are turning to bicycling. I'm an avid bicyclist. I do it for recreation and for exercise, keep in shape. So I'd like to talk about my experience in the township and the benefit of the planned the Quema bike trail system that's being developed from Traverse City through here, all the way up to Charlevoix and beyond, and get on existing trails. So when I leave my subdivision just north of here, if I want to go to Elk Rapids south or north to the Day Park or to Eastport or to Charlevoix, which I do often, there's only really one way out of here because of the water's narrowing here, and that's State Route 31. We all drive State Route 31. It's not a nice country road. It's very unnerving to ride along that highway during bicycle season when the traffic is heavy. People are going 60 miles an hour. With large trucks, semi-trucks, campers. When these go by you within a couple of feet on Route 31, bicyclists, because they're coming from behind you, just the noise, the sound, and the pressure wave of the wind when they go by is really unnerving. So it's probably the most unsafe thing I do that day is to get out of my subdivision and get to more bicycle-friendly roads, having to take State Route 31. So the Quema Trailway system will greatly enhance the recreational opportunities that the citizens of this township would have, provide a much safer way to get around, and not necessarily get in a vehicle every time you want to go somewhere. The trailway system has been presented to the board before and to the public. Right now, they're in the development design phase. It's the concept still, and the options for what the trail is going to look like, and actually the path of the trail are all up for discussions right now. So now's the time for the board, the citizens of the township. Over the next year or two, there's going to be multiple opportunities to give input, your comments, and desires how to make this the best path for the township. Upcoming, the first one's upcoming is April 10th from 5 to 7 p.m. It's at Short's Pole Barn. There may be some beverages there, I'm not sure. That's to discuss the section between Maple Bay and Elk Rapids. That's not our township, but that's part of the trail coming this way. So there's a trail team for that section. I'm on the trail team for this section, our township section. Our meeting is May 3rd. It's more of a drop-in than a meeting from 10 to 4 at Pine Hill Nursery. So as you go by there on May 3rd, stop in. There'll be opportunities to talk to the design team, give your input, your comments, and how we can make it better. So I'd like to thank the citizens, Township Board, for their past support of the Trailway concept, and look forward to continuous support and continued input from the township residents and the board as they get into the design phase, final stage.
Yeah, I think we passed that they would be using the west side of 31 through the township. So I think we've done what we were asked to do as far as approving going through our township. I'm not sure if there's anything else we're supposed to do now, or if it's more a fact the design phase is going to take us to the next level and then they'll be back to us.
They will be back. Getting through the Torch Lake community, what do you call that? The what? The hamlet.
The
The village is going to be very complicated because there's a lot of property owners. Over the years, the setback's not the same there as it is. There's a lot of buildings that are closer to 31, just north of us, than there are here.
Yep.
So there's a lot of options that the Trailway design team is looking at. Yes, it will probably be on the west side here, but will it go this way or that way? So it's still very fluid.
That's fine. We'll wait to hear from them.
All right.
All right,
Thank
thank you. Anyone else? Come right ahead.
I'll fill out a comment. I would just like to know what the status of the master plan is and the likelihood of a recreational plan associated with it.
I had a discussion with Sarah. I said, it's got to get done this year. We've got $60,000 in there to pay for the consultants, and I expected it to be done along with the recreational plan. So I'm pushing it now to get it done. Last year, we spent a lot of time on getting the ordinance passed, and so a little bit of a transition. We had unfortunately, two dates for our meetings fell on holidays, so we'll get this thing going.
Is there any opportunity for citizen township?
There'll be a survey.
Well, beyond survey, like actually,
Yep.
maybe
Yep. Oh, you mean an individual township people committee?
Yeah.
As opposed to having the
having
Planning
everything
Commission.
come to us and then we respond to it. Maybe work with a committee that kind of develops ideas.
Well, if you have ideas, then you can certainly come to the planning commission and present your ideas and give them the input. Andy, since you're our representative on the planning commission,
So the planning commission has talked in terms of having kind of open houses structurally set up to enable the public to come in at times. The planning commission has talked in terms of a concept of having like open houses where we would have graphical things come up about different ideas that we're talking about within the master plan. So in addition to the survey that Bob's talked about, we also expect to have public intervention or involvement that way. And that will happen during mid to late summer, would be the plan when we get as many people here that are here during the year. So.
Any other comments? All right. Thank you for those comments. The next item on the agenda is the state of the township. We had an election during the last fiscal year, and again, we thank both Kathy Windiate, Alan Martell for their many years of service to our township. We welcomed our new members, Mary Merchant as clerk, and our new trustee, Andy Graves. Special thank you to the many people who worked on the elections during the last year's election cycle. It was quite a unique cycle with the 9 days in advance voting and our combining with Banks Township to try to save some of those costs. During the last year, we accomplished under the old board the passing of our new zoning ordinances. Many thanks go out to the Planning Commission that worked for a full year in reviewing and passing the new document. We have implemented the board-approved long-term financial plans for managing our roads, ambulance, and fire services. This included the ordering of 2 new fire tanker trucks and 2 new ambulances. We have received our first tanker in November, and the second will be delivered, as I've mentioned, in 2026. Our second ambulance is also due mid-year of 26. And as I said, we've been putting money aside and we should be able to pay for that in cash. We put in place a lawn sprinkler system at the day park, which enhanced the beauty of the park, especially during the summer months when basically the grass dried up and felt like hay for the kids running on it. We've received a lot of compliments on the work that was done. It takes a lot of people to keep our township running and running smoothly, and I'd like to recognize a number of them. Both our fire and ambulance teams have performed their services with a professionalism that the township can be proud of. To all the members of our fire and ambulance team, a special thank you for your service. I want to thank Mike Bertram, our emergency services director, and Kevin Lane, our fire chief, and Ted Schroeder, who assists both of our leaders and keeps them in line and helps with our technology needs in the office. This year has been relatively quiet for our zoning board of appeals, but I appreciated all the members whose terms ended this past year for agreeing to stay on for another 3 years. We will put together the new master plan and recreation plan this year. One of the areas that always gets a lot of attention is property taxes. We are fortunate to have, in my opinion, the best assessor in Amy Genema. With the continual changes coming out of Lansing regarding the assessment process, Amy keeps our township updated and in compliance with all the new regulations. A thank you also goes to Linda Woodward, who has been managing our constant contact network for a number of years and has brought our citizens a steady flow of information with the happenings in the township. I want to also thank Michael Strange in the back for the work on redesigning and improving the township website. He is the person behind our live streaming and recording the township-related meetings and posting links on the website. He's the person behind the scenes uploading all of my board packages, usually all on a Saturday and sometimes multiple times as I work through the items for our monthly board meetings. A thank you to Bob and Virginia Hawkins for their continued commitment to our day park. The other attendants are also strong supporters of our park, and without them, the park would not be what it is today. During the past year, I want to thank Andy Graves, who served as chairman of the Planning Commission, and Laura Anderson as chairwoman of the ZBA. They accepted the challenges with a lot of energy. Andy will continue to serve on the township board as our rep to the PC, and Laura will continue serving on the ZBA. Finally, I want to compliment our zoning administrator, Sarah Capriva, as she provides a level of zoning experience, knowledge, and professionalism in our zoning function, and it's one of the reasons the ZBA has not been that busy. My critical goal for 25-26 remains managing the cash flow requirements of the fire and ambulance departments. As mentioned during the budget meetings, we need to ensure we have operational dollars for the ambulance team and the capital dollars for the fire group. That concludes my comments. Next item on the agenda is the elections, voting on the proposed salaries of the elected township officials. Motions will be made separately for each office and then voted on by the electors. The board this year approved a 3.5% increase for all the people working for the township. Motions for each elected office will be accepted from the floor from the electors. Anyone can make a motion for the amount that is the same or greater than the current salaries, or they can make a motion based on the recommendation from the board. You have copies of the resolutions approved by the board. The following salary recommendations are as follows and are supported by the board. Resolution 2025-1, supervisor salary proposed at $35,190, a $1,190 increase, 3.5%. Current salary is $34,000. Any discussion regarding the salary of the supervisor? Is there a motion from the floor for the supervisor salary? Thank you, Andy. Motion, is there a second, please? Thank you, Laura. Motion has been made and seconded to approve Resolution 2025-01 for the supervisor salary of $35,190. Any discussion from the floor on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. I have 14. I'll be 15. Opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. Resolution 2025-02, clerk salary proposed at $33,000. Current salary is $31,000. This is a $2,000 increase, 6.5%. This increase reflects a catch-up from the prior clerk's salary and the fact that we will not need to have the redundant dependency on utilizing the deputy clerk to do a lot of the work. Any discussion regarding the salary for the clerk?
I believe that clerk's salary should be in line with the supervisor and the treasurer.
All right,
I think it's one of the most important roles in the township, since it's responsible for all the record keeping, and that office has kind of lacked over the years, and there's a lot of things that are going on in that particular office, especially with elections.
all right, thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, is there a motion from the floor for the clerk's salary?
I move what she suggested.
So your motion would be that, your motion would be that she would be paid $35,190.
I'll second that.
All right, thank you. The motion has been made and seconded to approve Resolution 2025-02 for the salary of $35,190. Any discussion from the floor on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your hand. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I count 11. You're 12. I'll be 13. All opposed? We have one opposed. Motion hereby passes. Next, Resolution 2025-03, treasurer salary proposed at $35,190. Current salary is $34,000. This is a $1,190 increase, 3.5%. Any discussion regarding the salary for the treasurer? All right, hearing none. Is there a motion from the floor for the treasurer? Laura, thank you. Do I have a second? Paul, thank you. The motion has been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 2025-03, treasurer salary of $35,190. Any discussion on the motion from the floor? Hearing none. All in favor, please raise your hand. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Opposed? Thank you very much. Last one, Resolution 2025-04, trustees' salary proposed at $6,210. Current salary is $6,000, $210 increase, 3.5%. Any discussion regarding the salary for the trustees? Hearing none, is there a motion from the floor for the trustees? Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you very much. The motion,
Who's second?
uh,
I'm sorry. Thank you.
the motion has been made and seconded to approve Resolution 2025-04, trustee salary at $6,210. Any further discussion of the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your hand. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17. Motion passes. Thank you very much for that. Moving on to public comment. Are there any individuals wishing to make any public comment at this time? If not, that completes our agenda for this year's annual meeting. I make the motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Thank you. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? This meeting is adjourned at 6:58. Thank you for coming.